So I am with an amazing woman. She is,
Sarah Sanderson.
and Sarah actually supports and works with the community, the autistic community, and enlarging and amplifying the voices of some of the parents if she can. But I want to know, from your point of view, what's the significance of days like this?
Oh, it's a big day to hear people have a voice that generally aren't given a voice in society. It doesn't even have to be a big voice in society, but even just finding your voice in the classroom, in the workplace, it's just not there. So when you come here and they can just speak and be and not make excuses for themselves or hide, it's just an amazing feeling.
While we talk about those that are disabled, sometimes we don't talk about the families and what support that might need to be given to the families and what challenges that they may face. Do you mind elaborating on what people can do, what some of the challenges might look like, first of all, and how people can support in alleviating that?
I think that what most mainstream families don't realise is that once you have a child with a disability, that as a family you become marginalised as well. Because neurotypical people are just used to things following a certain path and a certain way, and they can find it really hard to change their way and change their plans. And I think that one of the biggest changes we could make is for people to admit that they're frightened about talking about disability. They're really frightened of the topic, and therefore the polite thing to do is to not talk about it at all.
It's almost like having those brave conversations that no one wants to have.
Nowadays people are afraid of getting it wrong. I can honestly say that in almost the whole time Ella was at senior school, the word autism was never ever used.
Wow.
Almost because teaching assistants, staff were almost frightened to use that word. And I think that's where we've got to, is that we're frightened of getting it wrong, as we are with lots of other marginalised communities, whether it's black people, refugees. We're frightened of not using the right language, not behaving in the right way, so doing nothing is better than doing something.
What would you see as advice to people that say, you know what, okay, I've just realised, I've listened to you, and I've realised that I have got this wrong? What would be your advice to them if they say, you know what, I want to be an ally to parents, I want to be an ally to the autistic community? What would an ally look like to you in this moment?
I think, well, in our family, we've always called those people golden people.
Ooh.
Yeah, because it is particularly for the community of people with an invisible disability. It's really hard for services to step forward and do something. There's only so much money to go round. So for us, the people that have changed our daughter's life have been what we call golden people, and they just come out of nowhere. And they just decide not to do nothing. They decide to try and do something, just a tiny thing. And yeah, I could be here all day if I told you what those tiny things are.
I would like to, because people might be sitting there just thinking what that looks like to be a part of this golden people. Because I think I would definitely want to be involved in that camp.
I think so. I think that so one of the smallest things you can do is just to say hi.
Wow.
You don't realise that young children who are in mainstream school don't get to have many friends. So if you're the kind of teenager, teacher, TA that just says hello and uses a name, it kind of gives that person a sense of who they are. So that is the basic level at which I'm talking. Even in your community, when you walk down the street and you think, I'm sure I saw you at so-and-so and I knew you were a bit on the side, but you could just raise a hand. Then if you, even in the workplace, then obviously you amplify that and you take that into the workplace, because if you've learned to do nothing at school, what I find is then what you do as you grow and grow older, you do nothing in the workplace as well. So that's why schools are so important, because if you do nothing at school as a young person, no one tells you what the little things are you can do. When you get to be the person that's ready for you to employ somebody, well, you're just going to repeat the same behaviours that you learnt at school. So in the workplace, just be that person that says, if I mentored this person that's struggling on the sidelines, or just said, look, I'd be happy to be that buddy. It's just someone who you know is going to be there when they go into work in the first place. They can just have someone to... if I talk at base level, if you could just begin at base level, it would make
just
such a
empathy and humanity and kindness.
difference. Yeah,
Inclusion.
Yeah, not being frightened to
Get it wrong.
Yeah, that's right. And also, you know, difference, we keep talking about there's no problem with difference, but that's hard. It's a big subject, is how... For me, the biggest subject is that we don't talk enough about how difficult we find neurotypical people find difference. We're just not being honest about that.
I think you're getting me emotional because it's something that I wouldn't have... Mostly when you fit into that category and you don't look the part, and a lot of people don't see invisible disability that way.
Yeah.
The last question I'm going to bring to you now is, one of the things people don't see when it comes to invisible disability is the mental impact. For the whole, not if you have to think family, work family kind of, the fact that the young person or the disabled person is going through their own struggle, but the family also has an impact from that.
Yeah.
In your own words, how would you want to explain that so people can get that a kind word can save a life, but also there's more intersectionality of issues that really, really drones based on society's outlook on you? Because I know what I want to say, but your words would be different. Or am I hitting something?
No, yeah, it is. It's a really... Yeah, I think that you eventually... I think Ella is such a great example of how she keeps using her voice and not letting herself be quietened down. Because I think even as a family, what you eventually do is just you stick with your unit. And today, Ella played a video that was made by her brother, and in it was her other brother, and that's what made me emotional when I saw it today, and it's what made Ella emotional, because essentially and we're lucky, I feel very lucky that we are a unit that's stuck together, but you know, for many families, these kind of pressures, lack of employment, lack of social structure, it starts to wear families down because you can't be everything for each other. And that's not what any child wants. Any child they don't want their family to be their whole world. We all want multiple worlds, don't we? But yeah, my proudest moment today was listening to Ella and seeing her brothers
Be in that space. I want to say thank you because you are just amazing, and I think you're going to be, a lot of parents are going to see this. What message do you want to give to a parent now who's probably just starting the early journey of...
Yeah, I think, you know, so you make lots of mistakes, and there isn't... there's a couple of mistakes, really key mistakes that you can make. One is to not reach out there and connect with other families. Try and find those spaces. They're not easy to find, especially if you're in mainstream school and you're not mainstream. But don't isolate yourself. Try and connect somehow with other parents who are in a similar situation. And also don't spend your whole time thinking that the answer is out there somewhere, because really it isn't, and the answer is here, on the inside of you and on the inside of your child.
You're just amazing. You're getting me all teary-eyed, so I'm going to stop. Well, thank you so much for being an amazing mother, woman, and campaigner and activist. Forum Central would like to say thank you. Leeds for all day, every day. There we go.